So, you know what happens when bans against Black history occur during Black History Month? Confusion over what exactly can be discussed, along with genuine anger and outrage over historical erasure. This week, nearly 300 Alabama high school students walked out of class after what they describe as racism and censorship of a Black history program. Alabama News also reports that students of Hillcrest High School, where 55% of students are Black, were told to focus more on current Black history rather than old stuff before 1970, because, cue the dripping sarcasm, nothing noteworthy about Black people occurred before 1970, not slavery or the Civil War, integration, and civil rights, none of that old stuff. School officials have denied the claim, leaving the question, so why did the students walk out? And then in Florida, otherwise known as America's sunshiniest laboratory of fascism and autocracy, the rejection of an AP African American Studies class has reached a boiling point. We are learning that the DeSantis camp complained for months about the course, while the College Board, a nonprofit organization that oversees the AP program, continues to insist that Florida's concerns did not influence any of the course revisions. Joining me now is Christina Greer, political scientist and host of The Blackest Questions, a podcast by The Grio, which is probably illegal to listen to in the state of Florida. Has the word black in it. Can't it gonna make people upset? Christina, what do you, as an educator yourself, as a scholar of history and of Black history, do you make of this idea that an Alabama high school would tell high school students that they must not talk about Black history that occurs before 1970? I mean, you'd miss a lot of stuff, including the civil rights movement.
You know, Joy, we joke about the Blackest Questions, but, you know, as I say on the podcast, to understand Black history is to understand American history. And if you don't know Black history, you don't know American history. There is no way that you can detangle the contributions and the struggles and the triumphs of Black people in this nation from its inception, as Nicole Hannah-Jones has so brilliantly laid out for all of us. And so, yes, we can, why don't we just start at 1970, okay? We can take someone like Ruby Bridges, who isn't even 70 years old.
Right.
We can still have so much of the civil rights movement in conversations from the beginning. But we know that so much of Ron DeSantis and his ilk, because it's not just him, he's the face of it, but there's so many other governors who are tacitly in agreement. They just might wear, you know, lands and sweater vests and just make it a little more palatable. But they are fully on board with erasing the struggles and the racism of every single policy decision that has ever been made in this nation. And it's not just about white supremacy. It's also a specific anti-Blackness, as Bell Hooks has always explained to us, that has been intrinsic in every single practice and policy in this nation. If you try and erase that, you are not giving anyone the accurate picture of this United States, not just Black people. All people in this country. And
I think you were perhaps referring to the sweater vest of Glenn Youngkin, who essentially has gotten a huge bly from the media and teased as some sort of modern. No, he's not. He literally ran on saying your precious child who is white will never have to read a book by a Black person under my watch, and that makes him a moderate? No. I want to go through just some of the book banning. Duval County, Florida, which has lots of Black folks there. They've banned 176 books that have been removed from school. Thank You, Jackie Robinson, a story about friendship, banned. A book about Roberto Clemente, a baseball player and renowned humanitarian, banned. The Life of Rosa Parks, a storm called Katrina, and a book called Dumpling Soup. These are just some of the books that have been banned. It is very hard to get around the fact that the only books that are deemed controversial by the right, by people like DeSantis, the Chris Rufos of the world, the Youngkins of the world, are books about Black people, books about gay people, books about the Holocaust. Do you see where I'm going? They've never said a book about any European is controversial or will make someone upset. There have been European wars. Shakespeare's got death, demons in the Othello story. None of that to them is controversial. Only things that are about Black people, Jewish people, and gay people. Hard to see that as a coincidence, but mostly Black people.
It's absolutely not a coincidence, Joy. And, I've said this quote on your show several times before is my favorite president, LBJ, always said, if you can convince the poorest white man that he's better than the Negro, then you can pick his pockets all day long. And here we are. A book like Rosa Parks, what Ron DeSantis and Youngkin and Abbott are so afraid of is that, as an educator, we have talked a lot about education and the importance in our families. Both of us have roots in Florida. A good educator sparks a light inside of a child. We plant seeds. They might develop while we have them. They might develop months or years later. If you learn about Rosa Parks in 3rd grade, there might be something years later where it's like, let me find out a little bit more about her. And you find out that she's not just some meek little lady who didn't give up her seat at the back of the bus. You find out that she's a rape investigator, that she actually went hard in the paint in deep parts of the Deep South by herself as a brave Black woman to actually investigate rapes of other Black women. You find out that Hank Aaron was a humanitarian, not just a baseball player, that he actually transcended, not just this racial aspect of the baseball game, but he actually fought for racial and equal justice along class lines. I mean, he was just so much more than, Mr. Hank Aaron, number, was he 45, I think he was? We find out so much more about Jackie Robinson and his critiques of capitalism and how he was a Republican, but sparked a much larger debate within the Black community about, is Black capitalism really something that, we want? How do we detangle these issues? All these books that are being banned are seeds that are planted in children's minds. And we're seeing that, Governor DeSantis wants to keep the state of Florida, the children in the state of Florida, as ignorant as possible so that they and their parents can keep voting for policies that actually work against them in the long run and the short run.
And what I would love for, white parents who are tempted by these bans and thinking these are good for your kids, to just interrogate for yourself. Why is it that you only are uncomfortable with books about Black people, Jewish people, and LGBT? You just interrogate that for yourself. That's what critical thinking is. It isn't dangerous. Critical thinking is good for you. Just interrogate and think about it for yourself. You don't think of yourself as racist or a bad person, but you're uncomfortable, but you're only uncomfortable with books about Black historical figures, the Holocaust, and LGBT. Just ask yourself that question. I'm just asking you to ask yourself that question for Black History Month, if you still think that that's legal to do. Christina Greer, thank you.